Thank you to everyone for coming and the Doris Duke for hosting this event along with Civil Beat. I'm beyond honored to follow after these amazing water men and our beautiful water woman in the back. I don't know how to follow up after the humbling boy to man story. That was beautiful. And gosh, I don't even know where to begin because I just feel like the ocean is so humbling, and to be considered a water woman or man, to be up on the stage sharing my life with you is really special, and I thank you so much for coming to listen. My name is Thornburg-Homcy, and I was born here on Oahu, and born into a family of water people who are in the front seat here. So I basically, like probably many of you, didn't really have a choice. It was, okay, we're going to the beach today, because there was nothing else we were going to do. So I grew up bodyboarding, body surfing, paddling canoe with actually Judge Town. Thank you for coaching me for probably a few years. That was an amazing experience. And I guess you could say I participated in every ocean and water sport possible because I felt that it was all so fun. I just wanted to try everything that would float or not float and just, have fun in the ocean with friends and family. And within time, that led me to competing in different sports, mainly paddling and paddleboarding, and which then turned into surfing competitively. But I had this, I think I kind of got burnt out on the competitive side, so I just decided to surf instead of competing, and that's what led me into traveling the world. And a brand or ocean outdoor gear company called Patagonia called me up when I was in high school and said, hey, how do you feel about being one of our ocean ambassadors? And I was kind of blown away at the time. I thought, oh, wow, that's pretty special to, come on board. And it was right when Rel's son had helped create their ocean line and ocean women's line called Water Girl. And I thought, oh man, if I can be part of something super special with Rel, I thought that it was, I was pretty speechless actually to be 18, 17 years old and being able to be traveling the world with a group of people that have the same environmental ethics and business ethics as myself. And I thought, wow, this is something really special. So I basically started traveling and testing these products for a few years, and then I was able to meet my husband in the ocean, and he's a cinematographer. And so hand in hand, we just started documenting our travels relating to the ocean and meeting different cultures. And we basically were able to get to a tiny village in India on a traveling mission to film. And I remember getting to this little island just south of India. It was a really, really small bridge that almost connects Sri Lanka with India. And we get to this town called Manipad, and I don't think anyone has ever really surfed there, maybe just a few people. And I'm with a group of women. We did a documentary called Beyond the Surface that actually we screened here a few years ago. And I don't know if you remember it, but we took a group of women from around the world and we traveled to India to look for waves. And we were humbled enough to discover that there was the first woman Indian surfer. Her name is Ishita Malviya. And we grabbed her on our road trip and we said, okay, let's go. Let's tour around India and see what we can find. And we get into the small village of Manipad. And I couldn't believe it, but when we got to our accommodation, there was a women's center just next door to where we were staying. And in this women's center, there is a group of women sitting around in a circle weaving baskets. And this is the way they, have some income and kind of have this group of women together to talk about life and stories. And we just walked over there to meet them. And I guess they had seen us in the ocean the day before. And in India, there's not a lot of women that are really allowed to experience going outside, and let alone going in the ocean. And we just kind of threw it out there to them. Hey, would you like, after sitting and talking story for a while and asking them about their baskets, but I saw this glistening in their eye of curiosity for the ocean. And I thought, oh man, how lucky are we to grow up and to just know the ocean in so many ways. That's almost second nature and so intimate. And to see these women that have probably not even stepped foot in the ocean in their whole lives. And we basically looked at them and we thought, hey, do you want to go surfing with us? And we had a translator kind of tell them, would you like to go surfing? And they all had the biggest eyes. They're like, what? Us? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, wait, no, is this happening? And they were like, yeah, let's go. And we're like, okay, should we come by tomorrow? And they're like, no, let's go now. And I thought, oh God, are we ready to do this right now? And they're all in their formal saris, which are beautiful gowns with, the wraps and the sequins, and they look like they were going to a wedding. And we're just, we're dressed head to toe, just out of respect, but definitely not looking as gorgeous and beautiful as them. But they just were ready to go right there. And so we loaded them up in our car, and we drove to the beach. And just the day before, we actually, our little group of women were surfing in front of this church. And little did we know that this was a big day for the church. There was a big occasion, and thousands of people came walking down the beach to come to the church. And we were surfing waves maybe knee-high, not much swell that day, but it was so amazing to see just the curiosity of what are those girls doing in the ocean, just riding waves. It was just really special to kind of feel that interaction. And I guess it was kind of a distraction for the ceremony at the church, because one of the pastors told us that we should get out of the water. And out of respect, obviously, we got out, but it was the interesting feeling of just the diversity of cultures and connections between the sea. And so when we got the women down to the ocean, they were excited to just kind of follow us with our boards. And we walked out onto the sandbar, and we basically, I don't even think they knew how to swim. They'd never even been in any sort of water past their ankles. So we just thought, okay, we'll just get on our board and we'll kind of maybe tandem together. So we got them on I just had a 9-foot board, so we barely floated, but just enough. So we paddled the girls out. And when we caught our first waves, you could see their eyes illuminate with just this newfound joy and connection and almost like giddiness and playfulness that maybe they had never felt in their lives. And I thought, wow, this is so profound, and it made me feel so grateful that I had that feeling for my whole life, being within nature and within our community and family, being able to play together. And I thought, oh man, if we can share this joy with not only these women, but for women across the whole world and for people and communities to share the joy of the ocean with others was something that in that moment with riding on the surfboard with the women in the saris, it was kind of full circle with why I do this, why I travel and why I surf and why I love the ocean so much. It's because it brings together people in a way that we can play and have fun. You just paddle out and you forget about all your worries on land and wash it all away and just have a good time. And when we got out there, we were having so much fun just splashing, and none of us could communicate in a language together. Our language was the joys of the sea, and just knowing that connection and coming back onto land and just smiling and wow, like seeing the transformation the ocean had for the women. And so we were walking back up the beach, and all of a sudden this guy, this Indian man, he looked like an older fisherman. He started running towards us with his hands up, screaming like, ah! And I thought, oh my gosh, are we in trouble for taking them surfing? Because in India, and in a lot of other places in the world that I've traveled to, women aren't always allowed to go out and do things that I'm used to. So, especially in India, they're used to the caste system and the dowry, which can affect a woman's livelihood if, say, they become surfers and become a darker skin, or maybe they get hurt from being in the ocean. That affects the price of their dowry, which in turn can also affect the way they are basically married into a sort of level in their society. So I saw this man running towards us and yelling, and I thought, oh, are they going to jail? Are we going to jail? What's happening here? Should I be worried? And he got closer and closer, louder, but none of us understood what he was saying. And he walked up to one of the ladies in the sari and he grabbed her. And I'm like, oh no, what's he going to do? And he started pointing, go back out there. And he was like, get back out there, get back out there. And I thought, okay, we're good. And so for the first time, I thought, wow, this has changed everything. This older man who had been so used to seeing, women in the factories or in the kitchens or taking care of the kids, actually outside and smiling and playing in the ocean, I thought, oh wow, this is something that's going to maybe change within their culture, and maybe it can become a norm. And it was something so beautiful to witness in person. And when I got back to Hawaii, I thought, wow, how amazing that probably everyone in this group has been able just to dive into the ocean and be so blessed to enjoy it whenever they want. Within a few months after getting back from that experience, I was pregnant with my daughter, Naya. And after she was born, it was really hard for me because, being a professional surfer and ocean athlete, I was used to kind of jumping in the ocean and working out and surfing whenever I wanted, having that flexibility and that independence. And my husband was working, he's full-time cinematographer on the show Hawaii Five-0. And so we live on the North Shore, so he would drive in every day to film and full-time. So we wouldn't really see him until mostly the weekends. So I actually all of a sudden had to become really dependent on the women and community on the North Shore within my circle to kind of help pick up the slack of having the support system of helping out, holding a baby while I went surfing. So all of a sudden I'm like, hey, stranger, do you want to hold my baby while I catch a couple waves? But it was, no, not that bad. But I was not desperate, but pretty close. So what happened was I decided to form this group of women and moms and on the North Shore. So we have, first I start off with another fellow mother and friend who we would just meet at the beach and trade off, and I would watch her kids and she would watch my daughter, and we would take turns surfing. And I thought, oh wow, like this is amazing, this little community we have. Well, because my parents live in Hawaii Kai, and you guys know how long it takes to get from Hawaii Kai to the North Shore. It's almost like flying to Outer Island with the traffic. So that's when I really had to kind of depend on the other women in my life, where I never really, I guess, kind of had that community before. I was so used to just being so independent, surfing whenever. And now we have over 100 mothers in this group that I kind of helped start. So I was kind of more of a selfish thing, but it grew into this really beautiful group of women who can call on each other and say, hey, I really need your help. I need to get in the ocean for just a second and catch a couple waves. And what happened was, through having my daughter Naya, she's turning 4 years old next month, I've noticed that growing up here and swimming in the ocean with all of our friends, that being able to share the ocean with her and the joys of the ocean is something so special and important to teach respect and to teach being humble to others and respect to the ocean and environment. I feel like the women in India and everywhere I travel, if you can teach the joy and the love of the ocean with people around you and new people who maybe have never experienced the ocean, once they become hooked or have that love for the ocean, they're going to want to respect it too. And for me, that's something that's really important, is having that connection and respect so that we can band together as a community, a global community, and keep our oceans clean and share the love for the land and the ocean with others and the world. Thank you so much.